Okay, and hi and welcome back again to the CodeMaven Programming Bootcamp. Hi, Nora.
Hi.
In this video, we are going to talk about creating a desktop application, GUI application. And we're going to use TK for this. So let me share the screen. And that's this screen, I think. Yes. And let me move this away, and that's gonna be easier. So, well, here's the opening page, just to have, you can see it. In the slides, again, you have to search for it. It's, I search for TK, it's GUI with Python TK, basically. And we are going to talk about this. Okay, and here I'm going to show all kind of things. So first of all, there's this example. Don't worry about the code for now. Let me show it to you. So this is in the directory. I run it Python, and then it's called tk_demo. I just wanted to show you something that we can build with this. So far, everything that we built, we're just on the command line, and maybe you could double click on it, and then you were complaining about or not complaining, the black window opened, okay, the CMD opened, and in that ran, and then you had the problem also that when it ended, then it closed the window, so that was sort of a problem. But it's just a command line. So when you ask for a user an input some data, they had to type in. And especially people on Windows like to have GUIs. And now we are going to build this kind of these GUIs. And then this is not really beautiful. What I created, I just throw together all kind of pieces. One day I'm going to improve this, I guess. But I just wanted to show you all kind of things that you can do. So here we have a GUI application. It has a menu that you can exit there. Okay, I don't click there. A place where you can type in your name. Let's say toolbar. Okay. You might have a password, so you can type in, and I configured it so when you type in, people won't see it. Okay, so I didn't type stars. I actually typed in some secret. Then there is this what we call radio buttons. So radio buttons are called that way because in old school radios you could push one button, and then all the rest would pop out. So here too, you can select one of them. Right now, none of them is selected. That's the default I set. And I can select one. And if I select another one, then this were unselected. So let's say this one. And then here we have checkboxes where they can be either on or off. So here I can set red and blue, or remove the red. So you can do whatever like, each one on its own. Then there is this pull down something selector. So you have a list of values, and let's say we put in a select from there. There is another one that looks similar, just it's open already. So you can, let's say, click one element. Maybe, I don't know if, no, this one is just a single selector, but you can configure it to be a multi-selector. Then you can type here in a file name. Okay, this looks like just a place to type in something, so similar to what we had in name, but we also have a button here to select the file that opens a file selector, and now I can pick one of the files, doesn't matter just for now, and clicked on the open, and now I copied the path of the file here. Okay, so all kind of things you can do, and then you also have buttons. So for example, you have this button, this one. Okay, would you like me to click on it? Okay.
Well, of course.
Of course, right? So let's click on it. Okay, so okay, it says
oh, no.
Okay, so it's a scary button. Okay, so you can have all these kind of pop-ups. Okay, and you can have buttons with some action behind it. We can have colors on them. Just showing examples here. So I click on OK, and then we have another button which says Run, which also shows some pop-up asking whether it's actually showing all the data from here. Okay, so you can see the name, the password, which I typed in. So the application can get the password, of course. And I mean, normally you wouldn't display it. I'm just displaying it so to show you that I have access to it. And the animal that I selected, which was car. I have no idea how I got there. Okay, I should change that. Okay, country, Korea, colors, red and blue were selected. In this case, animals. Strangely, that there seemed to be a bug, or I didn't select any of them. Maybe I didn't select any of them here. I thought I selected one, but no. And the name of the file. And this one now I'm showing only the actual name, okay? Okay, so now I can decide if I, let's say, click no, then nothing happens, okay? Because I didn't want to run it. I try it again. Now if I click yes, then the whole thing that it prints it out here. So there is this text thingy location where you can put text, and I've just printed out the same data. So you can see that we have this information. Let's say, but actually, if I select the zebra, then it says that zebra. Okay, so, and I click yes, and now we have the zebra. So, yeah, you can see, and then you can exit it, file and exit. Okay, so this is just a small demo of what you can do with this, and probably there are a lot of other things that you can do. So now all of these that you saw, let me run it again. All of these are called in the Windows world. So in Windows, they are usually called controls, Windows controls, Windows, I don't know, controls. In the Linux, Unix world, they are called widgets. Okay, so we're going to use the word widget. So this is a text box, entry box widget. This is the radio button widget. This is a menu widget. Okay, this is what the naming. Okay, so this is one example how to use it. There is a much simpler way to use it instead of writing a whole GUI application. So you can already enhance your own command line script by using the file dialogs. So one of the big issues that we encounter, that you ran a program and you had to give, then the program asked with input for a path to a file. And then you had to copy paste the path, the name of the file. And that's problematic. So here in this example, let's say simple file dialog. Let's try to run this. Python simple file dialog. So this is just a command line program, but when it asks, instead of asking the user with the input to give it a file name, it shows this file selector dialog. It already filled out that it says it's looking for an Excel file, but you can say, no, I'm looking for a CSV file or any file, and then you select the file, click on open, and then you have this leftover window, doesn't matter for now. And then the program goes on and you have the name of the file. Okay, so this way you already can enhance slightly your program without creating a whole GUI for it. Yeah, so let's see just this one, because this is relatively simple. Here we from TK inter. Okay, this is, so we call it TK, but the actual package in Python is called TK inter. No idea what's the rest of the name. And from there we are importing the file dialog widget basically. And then the file dialog widget has all kinds of ways to open files. One of them is ask open file name. And then you can also say what kind of filters to set. So when it ran, it had the Excel filter by default, but we could also use other filters. So, and that's you in your program set what kind of filters to set. And then this when you call this, then this will show the window, and the user can select some file, go around the file system, select some file, and then when they click open, then you get the name of the file here. And I think if they can click cancel, then you get none here. And then you can go on and see what's going on, okay? So this is like a relatively simple way of enhancing your program. Okay, now a little bit about GUI toolkits. If you have any questions with this, just remember, just stop me.
Okay, no, I'm good for now.
Okay, so I started to talk about TK. There are various GUI toolkits that you can use for Python. So Python doesn't need to know how to draw these windows and all these images. But there are these libraries that we call toolkits, especially for this. And they are all usually written or in C or C++ or some low-level language. But Python has what we call a mapping or a binding to these low-level libraries. So we don't need to know about the actual low-level library. We only need to know how to call it from Python, how to use the Python functions. And there are a few big ones. So TK is the one that we are going to use. It's probably the oldest out of all the toolkits, or one of the oldest. Then there is something called GTK, so TK is probably the oldest and probably the, how shall I put it, the least beautiful. Okay, let's put it that way. Among all those, so there's also GTK. There's one called Qt. It's spelled QT, but it's called Qt. There's one called the WX widgets, which is probably the best looking one, but it's because it looks like, because it uses on Windows, it uses the same system that Windows uses. So it doesn't have its own widgets. It doesn't have its own view. It uses whatever Windows uses beneath. Okay, so that's, no, I wouldn't say the most beautiful, the most native looking, okay? Because the others might be prettier in the eyes of some people, okay? And there are tens or maybe even hundreds others. And how to choose one, I have no idea. The reason I'm showing TK is because that one comes built in with Python. So it's the easiest selection, okay? And once you get started, if you start building applications with GUIs, then at one point you might select something else. But getting started with something relatively simple is a good idea, okay? So I said that it's installed, but anyway, I put it here how to install it if you don't have it installed. Because I think on Linux, for example, it doesn't come built in usually. So I have a command here. If you need to use pip, then pip install TK, I think. That's how you install it. Okay, but I'm almost sure that it comes with Anaconda, and then you don't have to deal with this installation. Documentation. So there is this link here to the documentation of TK in Python, which is far from being full. Okay, because it's not. So TK is a library that's coming from a language called Tickle, or which is written TCL. Okay, but it's called Tickle, and so the full set of documentation is there, but the documentation is written in the format of how Tickle uses it. So it's not perfect. Okay, let me say that way. And there is some other examples here in this behind this link. Okay, so just if you would like to play around. But in the next couple of slides, we're going to look at a number of these widgets, the individual widgets, and how to create them. So to make it easier for you to put together something. So let's start with one of the simplest widget, which is called a button. In order to have it, we import from Tkinter. We import Tkinter, okay, and we call it TK. Remember, we can just import things and then give it some other name because we are lazy and we don't want to type in Tkinter all the time. So we give it an alias. Okay, being lazy is one of the 3 virtues of good programmers, by the way. Okay, so just it's not a negative laziness what I'm talking about. Then the first thing you do is create the application itself, which is calling from TK the capital TK. That's how it creates the widget, the whole application. And then you can start giving it a couple of things to the whole application and adding widgets. The first thing I put here is a title. So the whole window will have a title. And then I create a tk.button. Creates a button. Okay, you give it the application itself, and then what to put on the button. what is the size of the button, and what should happen, what is supposed to happen when someone clicks on the button. So this is the command. And here I just set it app destroy, so just get out of the application. So here I have the button widget, but this is not connected to the application yet. It's not displayed on the application yet. It's connected because of this in the hierarchy, but it's not displayed yet. In order to display, you need to place it somewhere on this window. And there are various ways to place widgets, layout managers, they are called. We are going to use one of the most simple one, which is just packing them. So I have to put button.pack, and it will just put it there. Okay, put it somewhere. Okay, I think pack can actually have 4 directions to put: top, left, right, button, or actually I think it's north, east. So that's how we put the button somewhere. So far is okay, and then we call the main loop. Okay, so the way this works, so it's totally different than earlier. Okay, earlier all the programs we had were running statement after statement, maybe calling a function and doing things. Okay, maybe waiting for the user for some input, but while it's waiting, it doesn't do anything else. Okay, a GUI application is different. You start it, and then you wait for, then the application is actually running all the time and waiting for all kind of events. An event can be when you click a button. An event can be when you click a checkbox. An event might be that some time has passed. And then when that event happens, then some code will run. Okay, so the main loop is the one that is waiting for these events. It's also called the main event loop. So it's waiting for these events to happen and then to call the specific action or function. Okay, so let's try to run this. TK button it's called. Python TK button. Okay, I can enlarge it so you can see the title, but here is the button. I can click on it and then it closes the application. Okay, so this is the basics. Any questions here?
No.
No, okay, good. So we have now another button with a slightly more elaborate action. Okay, not just the one. So here we have again creating the TK, the whole application, adding a title, so far good, and creating a button which are assigned to the action button variable. Oh, actually, I wanted to show something else there. Okay, we'll get back to it. TK button, the application, the text on it, the widths, okay, these are all optionals, by the way. And then the command. And in this case, the command is the name of a function that I created earlier here. Okay, and I pack the button. And then I have the exit button, which is same, quite similar with close on it, and it mapped to the app destroy action. And I pack that one too. Okay, so let's run this one, TK button with action. So now you can see that the action is at the top and the close is at the bottom. If I click on action, it printed to the console clicked. Okay, so far it's not fully GUI because it's printing on the console, but I just wanted to show you that I didn't want to make even more work at this simple case. Just wanted to show that how we can connect a button to some arbitrary function that can do anything you would like. Okay, and then a close will close the window. So that's the whole thing you need. Just command and give the name of a function, and the function can inside do whatever you'd like. Okay, let's see this one. So I added the TK with button, TK with TK this one. So I had this change, so packing is now to the left. If I run, okay, sorry. if I run this again, now they are next to the other. Okay, earlier it was on the top. Now, okay. So I was just wanted to show that how can you do? So it's left, right, top, bottom, I think. Okay. So that's one thing. That was one thing. The other thing I wanted to show that I just remembered is that in the previous slide, we also had some commented out part, which is TK button. TK button. So this is just BG, which stands for background color. Okay, so now we have this color. Okay, close. Here too, what you get is either you can put a name there. There are, I have no idea what names, okay, somewhere probably they are listed, names of colors. Or you can put the hexa of the RGB value. Okay, so you can do that as well. Okay. Yeah, and in case someone didn't watch the previous one, so here is the search that I did, the color selector, and just search for a color selector and pick one color that you like, and then here is the hexa for the value for that field for the color. Okay. Next one, a simple label. So that does nothing, but sometimes maybe actually in the original one we also had. So let me just check for a second. Yeah, so here the text name is a label. Okay, it's just saying that, okay, the field is explaining basically the field. So how do I create a label? TK label, and it has some text. It doesn't have an action, it doesn't have anything, and you pack it somewhere, and that's it. Okay, TK label. Okay, it's just some text. Nothing very interesting there. Okay, but it was maybe too small, so let's configure it a little bit. So TK label with font. Okay, so now it's yellow background, some bluish text, and huge letters. Okay, so how did I get there? I mean, I could have passed it here at the label, but I can also configure it. So once I have the label object that represents this widget, and then I can call the config method and say font and pick some font name and the size. Okay, and then you can give the color. So this is the foreground color, and this is the background color. Okay, and there are all kind of other parameters that you can do, that you can use. Lots of looking for it in the documentation. Yeah.
Here, if you run this again and change the size of the window, the whole background is going to be yellow, or just the background of the label?
So it's just the label.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Keybinding. Okay, I didn't show you on the GUI application, on the original application, but here we can have this keybinding. So let's run this TK keybinding. So here it says use the keyboard. So now I'm pressing the letter A, and it says pressed A. Control B, it says Control B. So it notices that I can press Control C. Okay, so how did I get there? Here are all kind of other things. Okay, I'm just showing all the other, all kind of interesting key combinations. So how do you do that? Okay, there is just the label with the text, with some font and letter size. Okay. And here we have the events that will print out something. And here we are connecting or binding the keyboard, something on the keyboard to some function. So on the button, we had the command something, but here we're just saying, okay, if someone presses the letter A, call this function. And then in the function, you can do whatever you would like, okay? It actually receives an object that represents the event, okay? That I don't know what to do with, but we don't care about it now, okay? And then you can mark it, this is Alt-C or Control-B. This is how, Control-B. This is how you say, okay, okay, I can't use the mouse, okay? So this is how you can bind keyboard events to the application. And it's really nice because then you can enhance your application to all kind of interesting things. Okay, entry box, TK entry. Okay, so this is what we have here. Hello world. Okay, and I click show, and it prints out whatever is written there. So how it's written? How is it written? I have an entry, which is I assigned it to some variable name, and I pegged it. And then I have this function, which later on, and then we have the button, which says show, and is connected to this clicked function. So the clicked function goes to the entry widget and calls the get method on it. This is what gets the content of the widget. Okay, whatever the user typed in. Okay, and this is just the close button. Okay. Entry for passwords or secrets or whatever. So something that you don't want to show. So what the same exactly entry, but here you say entry show and you say star. So whenever the user types in, you can still get it. But then when user types in something, the stars are shown. Okay, nothing else special here. Checkbox. Okay, so let's try to call this TK checkbox. TK checkbox. Okay, so here you have these checkboxes. You can click on it, which one are selected, and that's it. Okay, sorry. So how do you create it? You create it's called Checkbutton. That's the official name of it. Okay, and this is the text on it, and it has to be connected to a variable. And here is the variable. So this is how you create a variable. Because it's a checkbox, it can be either true or false. So you need to create a TK type Boolean variable. It's strange a little bit, but that's how it works. Okay. And then the same you did this with the other one. So I had these brilliant names var1 and var2 and cb1 and cb2. And then here is the show button, okay, with the clicked function. And here's the function that what it does, it goes to the variable and calls get on it. And that will be either true or false. And let me try to see.
Wouldn't you be able to? Oh, right. So you can't do like cb1.get because that doesn't have. What does cb1 have?
Interesting question. No idea. What attributes? If does it have get? I don't know. So what's this TK checkbox, right? TK checkbox. So you are interested in what? Print CB1. No.
Doesn't even not even just the attribute. Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Okay. Okay. So it has a few.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a widget, so it has all kind of widgety things.
Okay.
What I want to show.
But it doesn't return any value if you don't link it to a variable, does it?
No, no, I don't think that it knows about that. Okay, what I wanted to show here actually something else, so we can keep it this way as well. What I wanted to show here is that, let's say here, doesn't matter here, var1 equal to true. Okay, so now if I run this program, oops, no, it doesn't work. Why not? Ah, because it's get. Ah, sorry. Set, I think, maybe. Yes. Okay, so now I set the value to be 1 before even we ran the program. Okay. The interesting thing is that you can actually also make this on the fly. So we could have a button that if you press the button, then it updates the checkboxes. Basically updates the values, and then the checkboxes will turn on and off. Okay, let's leave it this way. Let's comment out. Okay, what else do we have? So this is the checkbox. A radio button. So these are the 3. So it just turns off the other one. That's the difference. And then the action, and it says click, then 2. So it gives which number was clicked. How does it work? So you need to add, we have pairs. And when you're creating the radio button, you tell what is you give it a variable, okay? And they have a common a shared variable. We need to have a shared variable, so one will turn off the other one. Okay, that's how actually you can create several sets of radio buttons. Each set will have its own variable. Okay, so I created the TK IntVar, which is integer variable. And then we connected all of them. So we are creating 3 here. We are creating all of them with the same variable. And the value is the text. Okay, oh, sorry. There is the text and there is the value. So the text is what is written in 1, 2, or 3, the words. And the value of it, the behind the scene, is just the number here. I could have used both the text in both cases, but if you use different ones, then you can freely change the visible text without changing your actual application program. Okay, so maybe you made a typo in the text and you want to change it, but that doesn't mean that you have to change the whole application. Or maybe you would like to localize your program, so the displayed values will be in other languages, and you don't need to change for that the underlying program. Okay, or at least only the visible parts. So this is what you have here, and then there is this button with the run action, and the run action is count get. Okay, so again, from the variable we get the actual value. Okay, which are these numbers. Okay, good. Listbox. Okay, we have a couple of more of these widgets. Listbox. So this is how it looks like. You pick one. Yeah, you pick one value and then click show, and it says blue. So how does a Listbox look like? Listbox, that's it. And it has a values, which is just a list here. And then you insert the values to the end of the Listbox. So you can actually insert in other places as well, but This is the easy way that just to add one after the other. And then of course you have to pack the box to be displayed. And then here is the button that you click. And then when you click, you can ask the box of the current selection. So this is the current selection, and it returns a tuple, which is the location and the value of it, I think. Okay, so you do this first.
Location of...
No, sorry, no, I don't remember what is the location. So selected is the location in the list.
Right.
Okay, but then you can box get, and that's how you get the actual color. Okay, so it's a little bit interesting. Actually, if I remember correctly, you can even connect an event to the clicking, to the selection itself. So you don't need the special button. So you can, let's say you have an application that has two of these selectors, but the content of one of them depends on the first selection. Okay, so when someone clicks on the selection, then you can update the content of the other one, the options in the other one. Okay, I mean, there are tons of these options here. Okay, Listbox multiple selections. So here, I think that's the only difference. Okay, that you can have now multiple, the user can select multiple items, and you also tell it how many to show. And the rest are, you have to scroll for the rest. So Listbox more. Yeah, I think here, I'm just using the mouse to scroll here. And then I can click and click again. And now I click show and it says yellow and black. Okay, so.
And I suppose there is a method or something to add a scroll bar as well?
Yes, but probably not to this widget. I don't know, maybe you can also add to this widget, I don't know. But for bigger widgets, you can add scroll bars, both vertical and horizontals. Yeah. Okay, menu bar. So you would like to create a menu as well. So here we have the file menu with various things and the language menu. Okay, you can see English, Hebrew, Spanish, Klingon, you can't select. You can select Hungarian. Exactly, right? You wanted to select Klingon. Okay, so, oops, yeah. So luckily in the file menu, there is enable language. So if I click on this one and go back to the language, now you can select Klingon as well.
Great.
Okay, so now you can select Klingon and it said, okay, Klingon, good. And you can also disable the language. So here too, again, Klingon is not available, okay? So I'm just showing that you can, while your program is running, you can change the availability of buttons or menu items. So same you can do with a button. You can, let's say you can gray it out or make it disabled by default. And then once the user selects all the things that the user needs to select, then automatically you enable it. So now the user can click. So you can, I mean, that's a really nice way, or I don't, maybe it's frustrating actually because you don't know what else do I have to fill in order to have the button working. Maybe it's better to have the button always working, and when you click the button, check whether you have everything, and if not, then display some notification. Okay, you still have to fill this field or do things. Maybe it's more user-friendly, I don't know. New, what does new do? All the rest are just, I think, just printing out stuff. I don't remember. Yeah, you can. Yeah, okay, you can click on it and then it separates out the, so now we have the menu outside. How do I get back? Okay, I just close it. So this is just some feature of this. Okay, and exit. How do you do this? You create a menu bar first with the TK menu. On the menu bar, you say, you create a menu on the menu bar, and you say it's tier of 0. On the opposite tier of 1, that's what allowed us to tier it off. Okay, the first one, I couldn't do that. Then this is the menu. You add the command. So these are all the commands, what it's in the whatever menu
drop down menu.
Drop down for, yes. So you say what is the label, what is the command, okay, and then you connect a function to the command. So when someone clicks on that one, and so here, for example, we have the enable language, which has the enable language function, which what it did, it went to the second, the menu 2, the entry config, take the Klingon entry and turn it to state normal. And the disable one was to take it to disable. So basically there are 2 states, normal and disabled. Strange, but that's how it works. Okay. And then here, when I created the Klingon, the default was disabled, disabled. And I don't know what the set language here is. Oh, it's just printing out the language. Okay. So here it's just calling set language and printing out Klingon. Now this is a Lambda function. You could just wrap it and give it a function. The same way. So we now are on the fly creating adding a function.
So if we ran this again and you clicked English, then it wouldn't be printed?
Yeah, I think right now none of the other languages will print anything.
Only Klingon.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then you add this to the menu bar that you say it's cascade. I don't remember what was that. I don't remember why I needed that. Okay, so English doesn't print anything. Okay.
Wasn't that for the tear-off?
I think no, that the tier. Oh, maybe you need both, right? Maybe you need both. I don't remember. Okay.
To be able to actually.
Yeah. So the tier off, I say maybe this functionality needs both of these flags. I'm not sure. Okay. And then we have to configure the application and say the menu is this menu bar. So it's not enough to give this one. This is sort of you needed both. Okay, which actually also means that I guess you can replace the whole menu bar while you're running. So I mean, these complex applications that change the menu. So you can do that. I mean, in reality, so maybe I should have started the whole section with this, that I'm showing this not because so originally when I was started to run this course, it wasn't part of this bootcamp, but I noticed that several of my students, when they were preparing their final project, they actually learned a little bit of TK and started to use it for various things. So I thought it would be nice to show it because, and especially now in video, it's really good. We can go over it and show the various parts, and people can learn it or not if they don't really want to use. But I mean, especially if you give it to someone in a lab that are not programmers, or frightened from the command line, it's much better to give them some GUI. Text widget. Okay, so let's see this TK text. It's called Python TK text. So this is just the text widget. You can type in some text. TK text. Okay, nothing. What I have here, a couple of these functions, so you can text. You can remove the whole content programmatically by saying from the position 1 to the end, remove the whole thing. You can insert text to the end of the current text and you give some content. You can fetch the content of this. I probably should add buttons to do this to the demo and use this. Okay, and then this is to get the text that's actually written, typed in. Then there are various dialogs. Okay. So here is the TK file dialog, various ones here. This one is to select an input file. So this is, we already saw this, how it works. The difference between the, and here, okay, here you have the filter, but that's just up to you what you put the filter. Okay. So there's input file and output file. And I think the difference is that in the output file, you would be able to select something that doesn't exist. So type in a name. And then input, you can't. Or the opening, so it's more like opening and so this is like the file log ask open file name and ask save as file name. So it corresponds more or less what usually we do with open and save as. Right. Message boxes, so you can create all kind of these messages that we already saw at the beginning one. So here we have just the menu and then you get an info. Do you hear this sound? Did you hear the sound? Yeah, so I show warning. That's just my computer.
Can you, is there a way to turn that off?
I think it's just Windows. I think it's just Windows when it gets some alert and then, okay. Here it didn't do. So I think, I don't know how to configure it. Maybe you can do it in the TK that not to do this. Maybe in Windows you have to, so ask, okay, question, yes, no, okay. So it's 2 buttons. And okay, cancel. Okay, so you can different buttons. Yes, no, or cancel. Okay, so this is. So these are message dialogues, and this is what you only have. So here is the menu is just plain menu, and this is Messagebox. So you from TK you import Messagebox. And then you say Messagebox show info or show warning and show, these were the ones that were noisy. And then
why did you have to import Messagebox separately when you already imported TK?
I don't know, it's some strange way, but that's how it works. So I don't think that you can put tk.messagebox.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay. So these are just these examples, okay? Nothing very interesting. And then you get back the actual value, yes or no, actually strings.
And then how do you add the buttons to the message box?
So this is just, if you say ask question message box, then it will give you yes button and no button. If you say ask retry cancel, then it will be the retry and cancel button.
And can you add any custom button to a message box or just the default?
Not to these ones. I'm pretty sure I just checked it with actually Perl, but doesn't the Perl binding of TK, and there I managed to do this. So I haven't tried it with the Python one, I think. But I'm pretty sure that you can do that you can create your own message box with your own buttons.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just primarily to have some examples. Combobox, let's see what is a Combobox. I don't even remember anymore. Combobox. This one, okay? So it's just another type of these selectors. Okay, now actually this one, you see, it actually has an event when you change. And the run has a different one. So this is the, so here I have to had to import TTK from the TK inter. Okay, that's so these are apparently some extensions to TK. Okay, so I imported this TTK thing from the TK inter. And then using that, I call Combobox and give it the list of countries. So the list of values that it shows. And then I bind, so that's also strange, slightly strange behavior, bind to the combo select event, the change function. So here is, this is the change function, just a regular function. And this is how I connect it to when the actually someone selects something. And then I also have the button which has the command clicked, which by the command which will run the clicked function. So when the change runs, then I can go to the country current. So country is the widget itself. I get the current, the selection, and then from the list of the countries, I can get the value. Okay. Option menu. What else do we? Just a different widget. Okay. What else do we have? Okay. Okay, this is okay. You can play, and then it will give you the values. So it says TK scale, and then you say it's horizontally or vertically oriented, and from to. And again, you can set this color and whatnot, I guess. I mean, tons of things. And then you scale age.get. That's how you get the current value. And I think here, that's how we set the default, or just set it. Progressbar. No hands. Okay, I'm not doing anything. Okay. Okay, so that's the Progressbar. Okay, so up till now, we have little small widgets, and we also used pack to put it maybe to the right, to the left, and that's it. But that's really not very powerful in the layout manager. So what you can do is you can use a frame. A frame is just a widget that holds other widgets. It itself doesn't do anything. So you can take a frame and put a frame here and a frame next to it, and then some widgets go in this one, some widgets go in that one, and then that makes it easier to configure where you would like to have your own widgets when you have the widgets. Okay, so here is just an example with frames, TK frame. So in order to make, otherwise it would be difficult to make this, put them all the places. Okay, so. Okay, so this is already just old slides that I left here because I was still thinking what else to show. So we can skip these ones. They are not interesting. Okay, this runner, I have, let me try to see what does it do. TK runner. Yeah, so it's actually a demo that I think I haven't finished yet, really. But the idea here is that I wanted to have, okay, before that, the problem. Okay, so why do you need this solution? So the problem is that when something is running, okay, so you have the GUI application and you started to run a function. While that function is running, the whole application is frozen. You can't do anything with it because the event loop doesn't run because now your function is running. Okay, so that's a huge thing of how to separate these two things. And it's especially a problem if now you would like to create a GUI for some long running process, then your whole widget, the whole window is frozen. And I wanted to show a relatively simple demo that overcomes this problem. And this is the solution for that. So I click this button and there I have a function that's running, which is just counting for now, but displaying here. And while it's displaying, I can still use the buttons, for example, to click stop. Okay, so now I start it again, it counts and it just runs until I click stop. Okay, I won't go into it. It's also object oriented now, so I won't go into there. I just remember that this is the reason that I have this example. And then there's another one with this with threads. So threads are basically the tool for programmers or programming languages to do two things at the same time. Okay, normally a program can only do one thing at a time. Okay, and normally your computer can only do one thing at a time. Okay, so even though you might, sorry, oh, I have to drink more. So maybe you run your computer and you have several applications open, right? But in reality, only one runs at a time. You think that many of them running because they are doing things, but in reality, especially if you have one CPU, then only one of them runs. I mean, these days, most computers have several cores, but if you have a 4-core machine, that it still means that only 4 things can run at the same time. So each core can run one thing, but that means just 4 things can run, and you run a lot more things. Okay. So what the computer does is just really, really quickly swaps between them. Okay. But this thing doesn't do that. So if you don't use threads, then you have just a single process for this TK application. So if you like your program to do 2 things at the same time, for example, one to do some calculation and one to actually be available for the user to click buttons, maybe even just to stop the other one, okay, you'll have to start using these threads. So this is just another example for that. I think it's still not ready, so it's there. Yeah, okay. Any questions with this TK thing and so on?
For now, no, but I suppose I'll have to start using it to actually have the questions.
So now I have like 10 exercises here. Most of them I haven't done myself because seems too complex. So let's have a few which are relatively, and most of them are just basically ideas, what you can try to do, but you can do anything, just start playing with TK. So now just to have something more specific, I said, okay, so build a calculator, okay, that it only has an entry widget and a button to calculate. And maybe you can have a label to update, to show the actual result. But maybe, so, and then user just types in with the regular keyboard. And then you click the button and it does the calculation and shows the results. Okay, so that could be a relatively simple one. Then there is one that I haven't finished yet, but the idea here is, for example, to have an application that you can select an input file and an output file, and then it does some processing from the input and generates the output. So for example, you can take a CSV file and we had this example with CSVs, just counting the numbers and showing the sum. Okay, but how do you select the file? So go ahead and use TK for the file selector. Okay, so it's not really complex, just have something. Or you can write another example that you select an Excel file and a CSV file name, and you convert the Excel to CSV. Okay, so these are the other calculator that you can do is a more complex one that instead of typing in the keyboard, you actually have buttons for the number 2, the number 3. So just as the calculator usually looks like. Okay, so in this one, this is actually a, I tried it, I haven't done it yet. The layout is difficult. Okay, how do you make sure that it looks good? So that's the hard part now. Okay, and then all kind of other, like create a shopping list for yourself or create a to-do list, or all of these things can be just a plain notepad. This is just to take a file and copy it to another name. Okay, that's also a simple one. Mastermind, okay, now you can have actually the board. Okay, so display the board and colors and what else. So yeah, you already have the backend. Now you only need to create the GUI. So various of these, you can now think about it, or you can, I mean, basically you can try to create a GUI for one of the exercises you already have. Or if you started to do something beyond the course, that's something that's useful for you, try to add some GUIs for that. One thing I still haven't showed you that I really wanted to is the TK demo. So here it is. So now this is the first script I showed you, the demo. But now what happens if I double click on it? Because so far everything was on the command line. So if I double click, it opens the black window, right, behind the scene and opens this GUI. It's not that nice. So what can we do? We can say right click, and then we are now Windows, open with, and search, choose another application. Here you find, look for another app on this PC, and then you have to find it where you installed Anaconda. I installed it on the C drive, Gabor, Anaconda, and here we have both Python and Python W. So now I select Python W, open, and it opens without the back screen. Okay, so now I can, if you start writing only GUI applications, then maybe it's better to map it. So you can say now map that when you double click, it always uses the Python W.
Right. But what happens here, because in this demo, right, when you, not in this demo, but in some other applications that you did here, the result would be something printed on the command line.
Yeah, well.
So what would happen if you open that with the other, like the Python W?
No idea. You shouldn't print anything on the, so I mean, if you had a normal application, then nothing would go to the command line.
Yeah.
Actually, that's an interesting thing, because what happens is that most applications, what they do, these GUI applications, is that they print on the standard error. If you remember, we mentioned, Loris, it's basically the command line, the terminal, anything that's problematic while the program is running. So sometimes you have an application, you run it with double click, and it does all kind of things, and maybe it crashes, and you have no idea why. And then sometimes what you can do is that you run the same program from the command line, and then still you have the GUI, and now it starts printing out all the warnings and errors on the command line. And now you can suddenly, maybe you see the actual error printed there when it crashes. Okay, so it can be used for these debugging purposes for applications. But normally an application shouldn't print there. So my examples only printed there because I didn't want to show how I update fields. Actually, I didn't have a, yeah, so let's look at this one. I think I should show this one, and I haven't really showed it. How do I update actually data? So this is the demo. And when I click on the run code, so sorry, when I click let's run this, okay? So I have the run button that I can click and then something happens. So where is the source code? So this is the run button and it calls the run code function. So this is it, the run code function. What it does, it takes from the various widgets, it takes codes get to collect the data. And then, okay, so that's the long text. Then it shows the message box, right? Showing the text. Okay, and if the user clicked on yes, then it goes to the output window, and on the output window it says to, okay, so the text window, right, which is by default set to disabled, so you can't type there. But then I turn it to normal mode, print out the text, and convert it into disabled again. So it's an output window for my thing. So it's only the program can always write to it. Okay, but this is how I updated it. I inserted to the end this text. And I also put some lines below it. Okay, and I think this thing, the C end, would scroll to the end of the window. Because you might have more text, so you want to show it at the end.
What does app.update do?
So it tells so this so far didn't actually update the UI. There is a separation between what you can see and what actually the application has. So this tells, the update tells basically the event loop to update itself. I think refresh would be another word for that here. And that would update itself. That's one thing, but so that's how you put text in it. But the same way that we take get here, you can also say put or set, I think set. Okay, and then that's how to set, let's say, the content of a text on entry box. Documentation probably will help you here find out how to do things. Okay, so here now I can't type, right? But the application can. Okay, any other questions?
No.
No. Okay.
Not now anyway.
Good. Okay, so thank you for watching, and you have plenty of things to do, and so let me know when you're played enough with the TK so we can continue.
All right.
Okay, thank you for watching and enjoy the GUI creation.